Hey guys. Okay, so let's dive into the question, should you pay down your mortgage or should you invest that extra money? I put this game up here a few days ago on my Instagram story, right? And it was, what is the better option for building long-term wealth? Then it was, pay your mortgage off ASAP, invest your extra earnings, or buy the nicest car you can. We're not going to address buying the nicest car you can. I can confirm for you that is not your best option for building wealth. Very rarely is buying a fancy car and spending a lot of money on it your best option for building wealth. So we'll focus just on the first two things. So right before we dive in, read it. It's a preamble. It's an example only. I'll kind of leave it at that and move on. So diving into this question, to do it, we have to look at mortgage historicals, right? So here's the 5-year discounted mortgage rates since 2006. You can see here right now we're into on a 5-year rates are in around 1.6, 1.7%. Historically, they've been higher in the 1980s. If you ask your parents and whatnot, or some of you that age, they're upwards of 20%. So certainly back then, your parents and my parents were very focused on paying the mortgage down. For this example, we're going to use 2.5%, right? Right now they're at 1.6. We'll use 2.5% as historical mortgage rate. Now, if you invest it, I'm going to use some stock market historicals. This is the S&P 500. Stock investments, they're not guaranteed. You can see there are some years where they've lost. But generally, the stock market kind of, since the beginning of time, it's been kind of on average year over year, it's been, 7 to 10%. So for this example, we're going to assume that we've got a 7% return on investments that are made either via RRSP or TFSAs. Okay, so let's break down a case study, right? If we dive in here, let's assume that our characters here, they each bought a house, $600,000. They put $120,000 down. They had a mortgage of $480,000 at a 2.5% rate, right? So if we look at them, right, let's talk about Buzz, right? Our character Buzz here, he's elected to go with a 25-year mortgage, right? And the 25-year mortgage at 2.5% rate, that's giving him a monthly mortgage payment of $2,150. Okay, he's also saving $1,050 a month, right? So he's got a total money that he can put towards retirement savings and mortgage payments of $3,200, as they all do. So he's electing to make a lower mortgage payment and put some more into RSPs or TFSAs. Paco, on the other hand, Paco's he wants to be mortgage free a little sooner, right? So he's going to base that on a 20-year mortgage. So his mortgage payment is higher. Subsequently, he can afford to put a little bit less into his RSPs, but he's still making those contributions. Okay, and then finally you've got Nicole, right? Nicole's a saver. She's buying this dream house of hers. She wants to pay it down as soon as she can. So she is taking a very aggressive 15-year mortgage. So she's putting really all of her funds allocated that are there. She's not able to save anything here in RSPs or TFSAs. She's really focused on getting the mortgage paid down as soon as possible. So let's look at a couple scenarios. Let's look at these scenarios. What's this look like 25 years from now, right? Everyone's a little older. How do they make out, right? In Buzz's case, right, you can remember here he was saving $1,050 a month and making his monthly payments over 25 years. So at the end of the 25 years, he owns the house, right? His house is paid off. The total mortgage payments he made was $645,000. The investments he made, he started right in year zero. He was saving that $1,050 a month. That $1,050 a month that he saves now worth $848,250. Okay. Paco, on the other hand, right? Paco had a 20-year mortgage length. He was making higher payments. He was only putting $660 away for the first 20 years. But Paco, he's aggressive and he's also very responsible. So Paco, after 20 years, He says, you know what, I'm not going on vacations. I'm not going to spend that money for the next 5 years. I'm going to focus on investing that money as well. So for the last 5 years, between years 21 and 25, he was actually putting away $3,200, so what he would have been paying in his mortgage, right? So he's, for the first 20 years, he invested in $660, and then after the mortgage was paid off for the last 5, he invested it all. Okay, so what that means for Paco is that the total mortgage payments he made totaled $609,600, right? A little bit less. The reason why that is, he paid less interest to the bank, right? He paid it off sooner, so ultimately made fewer payments to the mortgage. He owns his house. The value of his investments, even with investing the large lump sum in that last 5 years, the total value of his investments is $720,738. And then finally, Nicole, remember, she was an eager beaver, right? She wanted to get it paid down in 15 years. So her monthly payment was $3,200. She wasn't able to invest anything for the first 15 years because she was focused on getting her mortgage paid down. But after the 15 years, and really for the last 10 years, so from years 16 to 25, she invested the $3,200 then into investments. So she paid her mortgage off and then focused on investing afterwards. And the way it worked out for Nicole was her total mortgage payments made was $575,460, so less than Buzz and less than Paco, and that's because she paid her mortgage off in 15 years, so didn't pay the bank that extra interest. She also owns her home. The value of her investments is $567,690, and that's really from really piling the investments into the last 10 years of that 25-year period. So financially, who did the best? Right? You can see here the value of their house now is $1 million. They own it. It's great. They've all done pretty well. In this case, though, Buzz financially did the best. Even if you factor in that he paid a little bit more in mortgage payments for his house, his total value of investments far exceeds those of Nicole here, for example. So Buzz did the best, although I want to reiterate, even in this case, they're all in very good shape, right? Our friend Alex, that decided to buy the car, when he was 20 years old, instead of making the extra payments. I don't have him here in the fourth column, but he's still living in that same car 25 years later, down by the river. Just to give you an idea. But these guys have all done good, but Buzz did the best. So why? Why did Buzz do the best financially? And it comes down to a couple of basic concepts, right? The one is the cost of capital, right? So really, the cost of capital is your cost of borrowing, right? So you can imagine in this case, the bank lent the money at 2.5%. So while the other people were paying down paying down the mortgage, they weren't paying at 2.5%. They missed the opportunity to invest those extra funds at what had been an average of 7%, right? So the cost of capital is different, and in that case, you can make more investing than you could than the bank was giving you the money for on your mortgage. So it made more sense to invest. That can be turned on its ear. It was turned on its ear in the 1980s, for example, when it would have been better to pay down your mortgage. The other part to understand there is because even though the others also started investing later on, they didn't. There's this concept of compound interest, and what the concept of compound interest means is that, for example, Buzz, when he invested $1,000, $1,050, for example, in the first year, I'll call it 1,000 to make it easy, right? At the end of that first year, it would have been worth $1,070 because of the 7%, right? The next year, then he adds another $1,000. But now he's building interest on 2,070, and that's compound interest. The idea is, you're getting interest upon the interest kind of over time. So he had a longer time for his investments to accumulate. That's why they accumulated to be a higher amount than the other two, and that's why really young people, the sooner you can start to invest in RSPs or things like that, you've got a really long earning period, right, where the compound interest is really going to add up for you. So I guess that begs the question, right? Were our parents wrong? I was taught to, you want to save and you want to pay your mortgage down. So were they wrong? In this example, it looks like they may have been, but it's not that simple, right? We have to actually take a look at some of the nuances. So, what is the case for paying down your mortgage? I think it's worth highlighting. Stock market investment returns, they're not guaranteed, Okay, you could lose money from one year to the next. If you don't have a financial advisor, if you're playing the stock market on your own, it's much like gambling. The way you got to look at paying your mortgage down is that's really a guaranteed return. That's money you would have been paying in interest that you're not paying. So it's like you're paying yourself back at a 2.5% guaranteed return. The stock market could be higher, it could be lower, on average 7%, but that's not guaranteed. Okay, if you put your investments in RRSPs, for retirement savings, it's fantastic. You save on, you get tax incentives and things like that, but it really is locked into retirement. That's not going to be quite the same if you pay down your mortgage, particularly with some of the new mortgage options that the banks have. But I think that, and really also what it comes down to is the intangibles, right? Some people just don't like debt, right? So, are you happier, more comfortable knowing you're out of debt, you own your own home? That's certainly worth something, right? The sooner that you are to being mortgage free, then maybe you've got more free income and you want to enjoy life and you want to travel and you want to do those things. So certainly, you've got to factor those into kind of your overall, your overall solution. The case for investing, I think it's maybe a little bit clear. Well, this one maybe isn't so clear now, but it certainly was before. Like when you focus on just paying down your mortgage, you don't have a lot in terms of diversification, right? If there's a problem in the real estate market, you've got all the value kind of locked into your house. Now, again, banks have done a better job at unlocking mortgages, so you can unlock the value today better than you could 20 years ago, so you can use some of the equity that you built up in your house and other investments. But it wasn't always like that way, but it's not going to be quite the same as it is if you invest your money in a TFSA and whatnot. You're not as liquid to do those things. One of the biggest ones for me has always been traditionally is opportunity costs, right? So if I'm paying down my mortgage and I'm focused on paying that down, am I going to be able to capitalize on a great investment opportunity if and when it comes up, right? And sometimes it's those ones that help you with big gains. And if you're that type of person that likes to hustle that way, then certainly you want to maintain as much liquidity as you can. Again, I want to preface that and say the banks, a lot of the mortgages and whatnot they're setting up these days, they do offer a lot more flexibility in terms of how you unlock your equity. So that's less of a concern now. Financially, and certainly, if the bank is going to give me money at 2% less or 2.5% less, I'm very confident I can do much better, right? You can come see me, we can get an investment property, you're going to do better, stock market, you're going to do better. So generally, it's, stocks have generally outperformed, what you'd be paying in mortgage rates. Not always the case, but generally that is the case. But ultimately, I think it comes down to, for most, it's the cost of capital, right? It depends on what your mortgage rate is. If mortgage rates were to skyrocket again like they did in the 80s and the early 90s, then you'd want to pay that mortgage down. The cost of capital these days in 2021 is very cheap, right? So we want to make that money work for us. So there you have it. It looks like, you want to invest as opposed to pay down your mortgage. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like these videos, please do add me on Instagram, albert.i.realestateguy, or on YouTube, or on Facebook. You know where to find me. If you're looking to buy a home or sell your home here in the Hamilton, Burlington, Ontario area, please reach out to me. Don't settle on a real estate agent. Go with someone that really knows the area and really knows their stuff. So thanks, guys. Albert, the Real Estate Guy. Thank you.